Welcome to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, where we sit down with the people who give shape, texture, and voice to life on the North Fork of Long Island. Some are rooted here by generations, others arrived by chance or choice, but all carry with them a piece of the story. We talk about what's changing, what's worth holding on to, and the currents of history, both quiet and loud, that run through this place. I'm your host, Christopher Bianchi, and for episode 201, we sit down with Joe Cortale. For nearly 50 years, Joe has been a beloved presence in the lives of children and families across Long Island. Though he didn't initially imagine a career in libraries, Joe's early love of learning and natural connection with kids eventually led him into the field, first in the Rocky Point School District, where he spent many years shaping his understanding of how to reach children and support families. That path brought him east to the North Fork and Floyd Memorial Library, where Joe's creativity flourished. He turned the children's department into a vibrant, hands-on space filled with theater, music, cooking, art, and the kind of experiences that stayed with kids long after they left the building. He also helped launch the East End Education Enrichment Coalition, strengthening connection across schools and libraries throughout the region. Known for always going above and beyond, Joe built a career defined by generosity, imagination, and deep commitment to his community. Now retired after nearly 5 decades, he reflects on the moments, relationships, and ideas that shaped his remarkable journey. Today we sit down with Joe Cortale to look back on a lifetime of service, creativity, and impact. So I hope you enjoy episode 201 with Joe Cortale. This episode was recorded August 15th, 2025. Thank you so much for coming on the Floyd Memorial Library podcast today. It's really an honor to have you on today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And so just to start off in the beginning, can you give us a little introduction about yourself, where you were born and raised?
Okay. I was born in New York City, in the Bronx. My father owned his own business. He owned what we called back then a 5 and 10 cent store, a variety store. Mm-hmm. And that's an important part of my story that I'll mention later. And growing up in the Bronx, it was a different time. We didn't, I had a group of maybe 10 buddies. We were all good friends, all mm-hmm. best friends. And, we played a lot of sports, mm-hmm. but not sports as you know it today, no uniforms. We played baseball on empty lots. We played football in the streets, mm-hmm. and we would yell "car" when a car was coming down. True story. Basketball, we'd go down to the playground, mm-hmm. softball at the playground, and we remained good friends. I still stay in contact through Facebook. And that was my life. Then I went to school, and I played sports in school, mm-hmm. became a little more organized. I went to a private elementary school, private high school, growing up in the Bronx. I did okay. I wasn't a great student in school. I did okay to get by, good enough to get into college. And when that time came, I didn't want to stray too far from home because of the friendships. Mm-hmm. A lot of my friends didn't go to school. They didn't go to college. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to lose these friendships. I thought of college, even though I was a dorm student, I thought about coming home every weekend to play and have fun with my friends at home. Mm-hmm. So I chose the C.W. Post College, which was probably an hour and 20-minute commute. And in the beginning, I did come home every weekend. But then the college grew on me, and, I stayed there, even stayed through the summers.
Mm-hmm.
And I did well in college, a lot better in college than I did in high school. I was, what can I tell you about college? College was a great time, 4 years of fun and study, and I like freelance college.
Mm-hmm.
I took the core courses, the English, the math, the things that were required for graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I took whatever interested me, never really deciding on a major.
Mm-hmm.
I loved history. I could get
Yes.
into a history book, a political science, and, I never declared a major.
Mm-hmm.
So at sometime junior year, and I'm kind of making this up, I don't really remember, I was called in and I was asked to declare a major. And they looked at my, the courses I've taken and said, well, you have most credits in history and political science, so that was my major. That's how I chose that. And I did well, we had a good time, I was an RA.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant free room and board, made my parents very happy. I was in the athletic dormitory, which was really cool. Because these guys were great friends, and for example, they would take me down. I went to post, so they would take me down to the beach, and we'd play football against the lifeguards. And they would make me a part of their team. So that was all part of the experience, And as I said, I did well. And with no thought about graduation and what I was going to do.
With that degree.
With that degree, with my history and political science.
Yeah.
And so, I joined a fraternity, and our advisor was dean of the library school.
Mm.
So there you go. He came up to me and said, what are your plans? And we were very close, to this advisor. I said, I really have no plans. He said, why don't you come to library school? So I took the GREs and, I was accepted and I went to library school.
Around what year was that?
Around 1967.
Okay.
67.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went there, and the courses were different than I'm sure they take today. We took cataloging, and very basic library stuff. And at the same time, one of my professors, by the way, the fraternity advisor, dean of the library school, was U. Beheimer. If you go to post-college or post-library school, he's a pretty famous name there. I think they named the library after him, the post-library. So one of my professors was Dr. Witten, and he offered me a job, my first library job, at the State University of New York Maritime College, right under the Throgs Neck Bridge, right? So... and it was really convenient because it was close to home. I remember I grew up in the Bronx, and this was in the Bronx. So I worked for him as a cataloger. So books never came in pre-processed, very rarely pre-processed. So when they came in, all the cataloging and processing was hand done.
Wow.
You would have to assign a Dewey number.
Yes.
And I forget the system. We would use a special code to classify the books.
Yes.
So this all came through our desk. I had a great mentor. His name, he was from Latvia. In Latvia, he was a doctor.
Okay.
And he came over here and he became head cataloger at this maritime college. And he was my mentor, and... boy, it's a shame I can't remember his name. Great guy, great mentor. And I did that for 2 years. And they allowed me, it was neat because they allowed me to leave my job at any time to go out to school.
Okay.
So I was doing school and working the job, but they would allow me enough time to go to school. And I did that. And the State University of New York was great, but the pay wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
And I met my wife. I met my wife in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Interesting, and she lived in Pittsburgh. And then she moved to New York, and we decided to get married, and I couldn't survive on what they were paying.
Mm.
So I looked around and I applied at Bell Laboratories in New Jersey for a position head of circulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the job. And so I went from college to special library, right? And this was very specialized and very brilliant people worked there. My job, I think we were the first computerized, or one of the first computerized circulation systems in the country.
Wow.
We had 2 IBM 360s set up in a huge room as big as that art room down in the corner, a big room.
Huh.
And the machines were set on grates for airflow.
Wow.
All right, so that as a book came in, we would have to process this book. So we would do it by hand and send what we did up to the key punch operators.
Mm.
And they would key punch in on these cards. So now the book or journal was part of our collection and could be circulated. So, each book had a card. And we would hand feed into our system these cards that recognized the book title or journal title. Mm-hmm. Part of our job. But the biggest part of our job was researching for the scientists. Or they would know what they wanted and call down for it. Mm-hmm. And then we would send it into the copy room.
Okay.
And we would have it copied and sent to them.
Mm-hmm.
Never sending the journals out, but sending copies out.
Yes.
And these copy machines were running all day. I mean, a big part of the job. So we did that. And a big staff, maybe 12 people worked for me. So, did that for a couple of years. And my uncle was principal at a school in Rocky Point. And he called me, he said, "Joe, we're looking for a librarian. What do you think?" So I thought about it, and I said, "Sure." So I became librarian at the high school in Rocky Point. I left Bell Labs.
But had you ever visited out on Long Island at all, or did you stay more in the city?
Well, I knew Long Island. I hadn't. But I knew that you kind of know when you want to change. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to change. Bell Labs was fun, but not fun enough. I was still a young guy,
Yes.
So I went to Rocky Point, which is about 45 minutes west of here. And I became, along with the person who was there forever, another great mentor. I remember her name, Mrs. Crude. We became librarians at a high school. And then they posted, and that's what they do in school. They post jobs. They posted for a director of libraries because we had 3 buildings, and they wanted someone to oversee the 3 buildings. So Mrs. Crude, having seniority, and I thought it was respectful for me to ask her, I said, "Why don't you take the job?" She said, "No, I want you to have it." So, because she was such a great lady, I became director of 3 libraries.
Wow.
It sounds more important than it was. It was 3 libraries, remember, with 3 librarians, maybe 5 assistants, and involved observations. And then we had built a new building and setting up that library and doing things like that. And, working with the kids in the high school. But the high school was not my cup of tea because it was, at the time, and it's probably changed, at the time, everybody had a study hall. So the study hall teachers, to make their life easier, would send the kids to the library, send the students to the library. It was almost like, who wants to go to the library? So rather than sitting on hard cafeteria chairs, they came up to the library.
Mm-hmm.
So I really had nobody who really needed to use the library. It was a way out of study hall. So I had an opportunity, and I switched over to the middle school, grades 4, 6. The high school was junior, senior high school, 7, 12. So I went to the 4, 6 building, and I became more involved with the kids. I mean, like, for example, during their lunch period, I would go out and play football with them.
Mm-hmm.
A two-hand touch. We had a running club. And we marched in the St. Patrick's Day parade with all the kids in Rocky Point. So I became closer to the kids in 4 through 6. And I fought for an open library philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, classes weren't assigned as part of their schedule to go to the library. They would come whenever they wanted, as long as I had an opening. And I would ask the teachers to leave. Teachers were supposed to stay with their class, but, I felt I didn't want these eyes overlooking my program.
Mm-hmm.
So please leave. I have your class, that kind of deal.
Yes.
So I did that for a long time in middle school. Then I had an opportunity to go to the elementary school, K3 building. And that was great because if you ever work with little kids, every day is like the first day of school. The enthusiasm is tremendous. If we could only bottle that and give that to the high school and junior high kids, it would be tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
But every day they had a glow in their eye. They were eager to learn. It was tremendous. A great experience. I did that until I retired, working at the elementary level.
Okay.
So, and another thing I had, I knew, I guess it's a gift, how to hire great people. So I had great people working for me so I could leave the building and not worry about the library. And we decided that, my wife and I decided that when we retired, we would move to the North Fork. We came out here once. A neighbor had moved to East Marion. Mm-hmm. And he had kind of a housewarming party. Mm-hmm. And we fell in love with the area, and we started looking for property.
Around what year was that you?
Around 2001, about that.
Okay.
And we built a house in South Hall, and it took a long time because the permit process in South Hall is not the fastest. It took a long time. Mm-hmm. And we had our house, and people knew in the neighborhood in Rocky Point that we were moving. And one of my neighbors who vacationed out here gave me the Suffolk Times that she had brought back. And there was an advertisement for a librarian at Floyd Memorial Library. Had no idea where that was. I called and spoke to Lisa Richland, the ex-director.
Yes.
Said, come on out. And I came out. And I never worked in public libraries before. It was college, special, and school libraries. So now it was a public library. So, and I was in schools for close to 30 years. I was in the schools. So came out here, and I got the job. And when I got the job, it was a reference librarian. And it was a reference librarian for part-time, 3 days a week.
Okay.
Okay, and it was perfect. That's what I wanted, right?
Yes.
A retirement kind of job. And all of a sudden, Poppy, my friend, I love her, decided she was reference librarian.
Yes.
Right? And she was a reference librarian. Oh, she was children's librarian.
She was children's.
She was children's. And she decided she wanted to be reference librarian. But that was my job.
Yes.
And so Lisa came to me and said, we're going to switch you. Poppy wants to be reference librarian. I said, okay. And I became children's librarian. Just like that, and no, it was tough because now, I'm replacing a legend. Poppy was children's librarian forever. She was great at her job. People loved her. And here comes an older guy, replacing Poppy, of all people. Really, she had tremendous, and she still does, reputation, and she's still loved. But anyway, it was tough, for people to accept an older guy in a position working with young kids. And I felt a little uncomfortable in the beginning. And but I tried. Go ahead.
No, but even with your experience working in Rocky Point.
Schools were different. Schools, you had classes of, here they kind of trickle in 3, 4 at a time, and with their mommies, never daddies, always mommies in the morning, and it was different. Yeah. And to have that relationship, that one-on-one that you need in this place, So, and again, like I said, I'm replacing a legend, and I had no idea about programming. I had no idea about how to do this. So initially, I think I was pretty bad at it. I really do. I remember my first contact was the after-school program, Greenport after-school program with the kids that had a summer camp, but it was after school, and I don't know, I walked out, I think they shook their heads. What do we have here? That kind of deal. Yeah. And, I wasn't used to small groups working in school. When a class or kids came in, they came in 25 at a time. Here they're coming in 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time, and and I really wasn't a big fan of that. So I wanted to change that, and I knew that my audience during the day, the people I wanted, were sitting in the classroom next door and out in Oyster Ponds. So that, I knew I needed to get into the schools. And being in the schools 30 years, I felt very comfortable walking into the school. I felt very comfortable talking to the superintendent. And I realized that if I was going to get into the schools, I needed to start at the top with the superintendent. Yes. So I don't remember how, but I arranged a meeting, and I became friendly with the superintendent. And at the time, it was Charlie Kazora, and he became a friend. And he directed me to my first barber clap. That was the first principal. And Barbara and I became friendly, and she allowed me access to the staff. But I had to work from the top down. I just couldn't go to the teachers, so. Yes. And I did the same thing out in Oyster Ponds, from the top down. And then Joe Tavares, the elementary principal today, came in, and we became really good friends. I would walk in, and Ruth, his secretary, would say, "Joe is here." No appointment, walk right in. And we would discuss different things about planning and, how I could get his kids involved and teachers involved. And he gave me, again, access to his staff. And his staff and I became very friendly. Almost whatever I wanted, they gave me. I can tell you about different things, really, like... we did a busload of kids out to the beach in I forgot the name.
Was it in Orient?
In Orient, yeah. The beach on the left.
I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, I forgot the name too. But we went out there and we collected garbage. And out of that garbage, we made art. I kind of connected with the art. Cindy Pease Rowe. Yes. Right, you know her? I mean, she came down here, and with the kids, we took a busload of kids out there, maybe 6th graders, and we collected garbage. We brought it down to that community room, and it stunk. Lisa Let me tell you something else before we go on. I just need to move back. Lisa was a terrific, tremendous boss. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, she allowed me to spread my wings. Mm-hmm. Without Lisa, I don't stand a chance. Mm-hmm. She was my support. You know, she never, ever, I don't think, said no. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're going to be successful, you need a boss like that.
Yes.
You know, you need somebody to support you, and she was terrific. Mm-hmm. I sing her praises all the time, so I can't forget Lisa.
Yes.
You know, she allowed me the opportunity to leave the building and see the superintendent. She allowed me to do almost anything I wanted. She was terrific. Great, great boss. So moving on, we collected the garbage, and the smell was horrendous. You know, it was garbage. You know, it went right through the building. But we made art. Mm-hmm. And we made art with Cindy Rowe. And with that art, we displayed it here and at the school. Mm. You know, and we did things with sixth graders at Christmas time. And, you know, different things. I met with librarians constantly. The kids would come over for different things, and it was a great relationship. Mm. But it was only one school. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then I decided that we did something called Enrichment. And this was where I offered after school, knowing the school system, knowing parents, that parents would love to have their kids involved with something after school and not worry, especially if they were working parents. Mm-hmm. So I offered Enrichment after school, where at Greenport we would do soccer, cooking, art, different programs, basketball, and they would sign up, and we would bus oyster ponds over to Greenport School for these programs. So we had 70 or 80 kids after school doing soccer, cooking, whatever, you know, whatever we offered. And I would hire people to teach these courses, like Coach Osmer, who coached Greenport soccer, did the soccer. The basketball coach did the basketball. Yes. You know, so we got a cooking person to do the cooking. And then maybe 6 weeks later, we would turn that program around and move it to Oyster Pond School. Mm-hmm. So now we would bus the kids from Greenport to Oyster Ponds and do the same kinds of programs out there. And we still got 70 kids involved. It was packed, you know. So I was all working through the schools. It was terrific, and we did a lot more that I just can't remember. I was always looking for different opportunities to partner with schools, and you know, before we started this, I told you about the Seaport Museum.
Yes. And
then there was something interesting. My wife and I would go every Wednesday night to a concert right across from the IGA in South Hall. There's a gazebo park, right? I don't know if you know, but there's a gazebo park.
Yes.
And every Wednesday night in the summer, there's a concert. And what they do is they hand out a brochure for each Wednesday night. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could partner with these people? So I went to, at the time, Peg Murphy. She was in charge of running that whole program. I said, what's the chances, you start at 7:30, what's the chances of me starting at 6 with a program for kids and you advertise in your brochure my program at 6? So, you know, it was an opportunity for me to get into South Hall, for parents, because parents from all over, people from all over came to that concert, and they would see children's program at 6 o'clock right in front of them next Wednesday.
Yes.
So, you know, that was another partnership. And then somebody mentioned down in New Suffolk that there used to be an IGA in New Suffolk. So if you go down New Suffolk Road, straight down about 3/4 of a mile, make a left turn, you'll see a flat building that used to be a supermarket. Now it's an art studio. So I went to the art director in the studio and I said, what's the chances of doing a program in your building? And we talked and we came to an agreement, and I bus loaded kids to that old IGA, and we did an art program in there. Because you have to remember, and I found this out rather quickly, some of the kids in Greenport never get to leave Greenport.
Yes.
They never get to even go to New Suffolk. So we took them out of Greenport into New Suffolk. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mary Jo Wennick. Mary Jo Wennick, I guess, ran the Wennick Foundation. And she came in to see me, and she said, we'd like to donate monies to the children's program. And I said, great, and then we started something here called Read a Recipe for Literacy. And she did that, and she was very inspirational, very much involved. She just didn't throw money at us. She became involved, and we became friends and partners in this program. She gave me monies to take the kids into the city. So we got a coach bus with a bathroom, and we took maybe 40 kids, 45 kids into Columbia University once a year to the culinary school. And what we did first is we walked around and we showed, and remember, these kids never left Greenport, a lot of them. So we took them into the city and we walked around, and the gardens in the city are little corner plots. So, we went to this culinary school with these vegetables that we picked, and they would cook us a lunch. So after lunch, we had free time. I said, you're not going to pass up this opportunity to go back. So we went to places like the New York Public Library, where the librarian the children's librarian gave us a tour of the library, explained to the kids that underground, way underground, were the real stacks, like really buried under, and the kids were fascinated by this. What do you mean underground? All sorts of questions. Tunnels? That kind of, so it was great. You went to the New York Public Library, we'd go to Grant's tomb, then we take a bus tour of the city, and then we come home. And that was a full day.
And you did that every year?
Every year.
Wow.
Every year we do that. And Mary Jo Wennick gave us the money for that. And then with Mary Jo Wennick, as a sidebar, I'd be in Florida, and I'd drive up to Jupiter, and I would visit her programs in Jupiter. And I would get ideas from her programs up there, and she would share these. And then at night, we'd go out to dinner with Mary Jo and her husband, Shelley, and Shelley was brilliant. Let me tell you about this man. He was brilliant, but he could sit down and talk baseball with you. Very comfortable kind of guy, So we became very good friends, and I visited her programs in Florida maybe a half a dozen times, to see what they were like. And then Mary Jo gave me monies to do a live theater performance at the school. Every Friday after Thanksgiving, we do live theater at the Greenport School every Friday after Thanksgiving.
Wow. So
that was automatic. And Andrew Olson, who's editor of the Suffolk Times, gave us free advertising. So he gave us, partnered with Andrew, he gave us free advertising, and we would pack that auditorium, and we do things like the Christmas Carol, an introduction to the holiday season, and things like that, with TheaterWorks, I think. Yeah. So that was Mary Jo Wennick's money,
Just getting the children out of the building.
Well, this was Friday. It was vacation time.
Okay.
It was after Thanksgiving. It was vacation time. It was getting to the parents through this advertisement and having the parents take the kids. And the auditorium was packed with kids and parents. And, I had another thought. And, it was Sister Margaret. Sister Margaret was the advocate for the Spanish population.
Yes.
And she was the connection with the church. And every year we'd have Santa Claus, right? But I wanted the Spanish people to be involved. So I used to go to 8 o'clock Mass. That's the Spanish Mass. That's St. Agnes.
Yes.
And I would sit in the back, and she would give me opportunity to go on the pulpit and announce, Santa Claus is coming whenever it was on Saturday. And Sister Margaret would introduce me, and this is a quote, "Here comes my pain in the neck Joe. He never leaves me alone." But we would have these great meetings. Her office was in the school next to the church, right on Front Street.
Yes.
Right? And I'd go in there and, to get the Spanish people involved more. And we did that, and she would advertise tremendously for me. She was a great advocate of libraries. So that was Sister Margaret. And, we'd get a lot of Spanish people here, for different programs,
I think the population was growing in 2001, 2002.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
It was, but the line for Santa Claus was up the steps out the door.
Wow.
Another, and then, we did... with the libraries, decided to expand beyond the schools. And so we did with first South Hall Library, and then it expanded to Cutchogue. And then after Cutchogue, Mattatuck. And then after Mattatuck, Riverhead. Then after Riverhead, we went to Shelter Island. And every time they hired a new librarian, I would make sure to go and take that librarian to lunch. So she would feel a part of our group. And we did a lot of things together, like Brady Reimer in the summer. I'm telling you, at one time, you could not get a seat in that park. It was so packed with people. With kids, parents would bring pizza, kids would be dancing. That was like the highlight of the summer. Everything went around Brady Reimer. All the little programs we did. And I enjoyed those programs. And a lot of those programs were shared between libraries. That's, it's something that we started. And from there, we grew into the 4EC. I saw that as one of your questions.
You helped start the
and
East End Education Coalition.
Enrichment Coalition and that. So we had all the libraries to start. So I thought about it. I said, what about the PTAs? They're part of the school, so we got the PTAs involved. And then it was East End Kids. I mean, it's long since gone, but she was involved. So you had PTAs, East End Kids, and the libraries. So we had the schools, the libraries, and outside organizations involved in this. And we'd meet once a month and strategize different programs. And so now it was a no-brainer. We do one program and have 10 different people or organizations funding this one program.
Yes.
And the same thing with the libraries. When we did it, now it wasn't Floyd Memorial Library paying for it. It was 6 libraries paying for it.
Yes.
And what happens then, you double your attendance 6-fold. And then with the 4EC, it was 10-fold. So that was the idea behind the 4EC. We'd meet once a month. Heather Wolf, she was terrific. She was the chairperson of the group. And she would organize, and she was just terrific. And then another thing I'll mention quickly here, I hired the best pages. One summer, and this is Lisa again, she allowed me to have, I think, 12 pages.
Wow.
And they were all the brightest and the best of the best. So I could leave the library. Remember back when we started this, I said about the assistants being great, and they took over the classes for me. Same thing here. I could leave a page in charge of that room.
And feel comfortable.
Feel comfortable. They were incredibly good. I mean, better than me. And they had this connection with the kids, and they were bright. You don't get better than that. I mean, you had I can name names, but I had 12. And then at the end of the summer, I have a picture somewhere at home of me and the 12 pages at the Hellenic restaurant. I took everybody out to lunch. That's how good these kids were. You know, I mean, they were the best of the best. So, I love Floyd. Floyd was home for me. I found a home. The school was great, but Floyd was the best. Had great colleagues. It was Poppy and Lisa, and they were terrific. Poppy set the standard. Lisa allowed me to spread my wings, and they were great partners. And my fellow librarians, great people. And my pages, without all those people, Mary Jo, Sister Margaret, the principals, I do none of this.
You couldn't get all those programs.
No, we did a lot. We really did a lot. And as every morning I get up and I walk maybe 4 miles. I get up early and walk. I was thinking about it this morning, and and my heart went out to Floyd Memorial Library. It's a great place to work, and I miss it every day.
How long did you work here from 2000?
18 years.
Wow.
18 years. It was tough to leave. It was tough to leave, but made great friends, great parents. I have some great notes from parents about, besides all the fun, there were books too. And we have to get the kids into books and reading, so we did that too. I knew the books, and, I knew the kids, I knew what they would like, and that helped, yeah.
And you worked with kids and middle schoolers in Rocky Point?
Yes.
But were there challenges at times, but then working with kids all your life, you still enjoyed that whole experience?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. The difference in a school was the fact that the kids had to come to the library.
Yes.
The difference here is that the kids want to come. And when you have a person who wants to be somewhere, it's a different scenario. In school, they had to be there, either through study hall or through classes. Here they walked in because they wanted to be here, or they wanted to sign up for a program after school, or they wanted to go to the city. And it was, it was just great. And but I had great partners like Mary Jo and Sister Margaret and Lisa and Poppy and the principals and the teachers. I could walk into that school and you needed something like you have on, a badge. I could walk in and the guard would say to me, "Where you going, Joe?" And that was it. I was in the school a lot.
Yes.
A lot of days, because I wanted that clientele. I wanted them to know me. It
feels like you went above and beyond for the children and families, what a typical children's librarian would do, and making all those connections and getting all these programs. It seemed really like you had a passion for it.
I did. I really did. I had a passion for consolidation. My father owned a business, so I knew about money. I knew we had a budget, but I still knew I wanted to do things. It was, to me, a no-brainer to partner with the other libraries and to expand on that. And when Mary Jo came in, it was a godsend. So, I love the library. I wish I was still here sometimes.
How was that? Because you had initially retired from Rocky Point, then started working here again, but then you retired nearly after almost 50 years. What was that transition like?
From working to retirement?
From working at Floyd to retiring?
That was tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's, retirement is not all that great sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I can play golf, sure. I can take my walks, sure. I can, I do what I do a lot is my grandson is a college golfer. Mm-hmm. And he plays in outside tournaments, and I'll follow him. So I'll walk while he's playing, like a gallery.
Okay.
So I'll do that. But still, my love is here. Mm-hmm. There are times during the day like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. Mm-hmm. I wish I was at the library. So, retirement's great. It gives me freedom. But still, I miss the library.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also, could you talk about even just the outside of the library, the North Fork, and maybe how you've seen the area change over the years?
A little bit. There's a lot going on the North Fork if you look for it. Mm-hmm. Like we were in Shelter Island last night at the Perlman concert. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of concerts. Yeah. Manituck has a concert periodically at Veterans Park. Mm-hmm. We go there. A lot of stuff happening at wineries. Mm-hmm. That's the big change, mm-hmm. from when I first got here. They were out there, but there's a lot more, I think, now. And where I live is I live in a condominium in Cutchogue, mm-hmm. behind the post office. Yes. And it took them, I think, 30 years to get approval to build that. Mm-hmm. So that's a big change, that condo development. Mm-hmm. The prices to live out here
have just gone up.
Tremendously. Go out to dinner sometime. Mm-hmm. We went out to dinner. I won't name the place. Yeah. But I had a turkey sandwich. Mm-hmm. My wife had something else. And we had 2 non-liquor drinks. And the bill was $90. Mm-hmm. So that's changed. Yeah. I mean, there's really no go-to places anymore. Mm-hmm. Where you can go and say, listen, for $25 we'll have, maybe there is, I haven't found it. Yeah, so it's changed, very expensive. Yes. And so that's a big change, and people are finding out about the North Fork, mm-hmm. or have found out about it. Yes. And they're moving out here. Mm-hmm. Where my development, there are a lot of people from Brooklyn and from west of Long Island. Yeah. Now come out here, it's paradise. Mm-hmm. And on morning walks, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers your question. That's all I see. Yeah. We're busy. We, at night, tonight there's a concert. We go, I'll tell you a funny story. Colin, you know Colin, don't you? Colin Van Tuttle. Yes. Yeah. Right? He, the conductor of the Greenport Band on Friday nights. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we go almost every Friday night. And my friend, who I used to teach with, plays the tuba in the band. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we go to dinner and then a concert. So one night, a couple, 3, 4 years back, the bass drummer mm-hmm. didn't show up, so they needed a bass drummer. And he didn't show up. So he looked at me and said, Joe, come up and play the bass drum. I said, well, wait a second, Colin. I never played the bass drum. I never played any drum. He said, don't worry about it. Come on up. So I did. And the real drummer, I said, how do I do this? He said, listen to me. Every time I kick you, you hit that drum. And that's how I played in the Greenport Band. But we go every Friday night. Nice. And it's something to look forward to. We go Wednesdays. Yes. We go to Dancing in the Park on Mondays. So there's always something to do out here. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and like I said, my daughter lives in Mill Place. Okay. And we're in there a lot, and I'm watching this kid play golf and getting better. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just won the club championship, and I was there. Yeah, he's that good. Wow. And I'm trying. I'm not good, but I'm trying.
But you play a lot.
I play a lot, but I've reached my peak. I don't think I'm going to get better, but I try and I have fun.
And I wanted to just also ask you, because you mentioned just growing up in the Bronx, Have you gone back there and?
Once when I went for my high school reunion.
Oh, okay.
I went back and it was cool because I got to see the football field. I got to see the inside of the school, the classrooms, and it's an old building, and it was cool. And then we decided, I lived 3 blocks from my house, from the school.
Yes.
Okay, I lived 3 blocks from the school. My house was in walking distance, and so I said, let's go knock on the door and see if they let us in. It'd be fun. We lived there a long time. But we pulled up, there were bars on the windows. There were gates all around the house, and I really said to my wife, we're not going to knock on that door. So we took pictures. So it has changed.
It's changed. And did your grandparents grow up there?
My grandparents, my mother's parents grew up in the Bronx, and my father's parents grew up in Yonkers.
Okay.
Very close, because we're in the Bronx where I lived was on the border of Mount Vernon and Yonkers.
Okay.
On the East Bronx.
Okay.
A nice neighborhood. It was really nice. We know no violence, great bunch of guys. But I went back 5 years ago. It changed.
Yes.
I don't think for the better.
No, it's a tough period, and it was. And then just to even go, did you meet some of your grandparents?
Oh yeah.
You did.
Oh yeah. My grandfather. I used to go into. Before I lived in Rocky Point. You knew I worked in Rocky Point, but I lived in Rocky Point, close to the school.
Okay.
And I would pick him up periodically, go into Yonkers, and he would come out, and he would do all the landscaping. That was his job. So he would come out. My uncle, the principal, lived a house away. So he would stay with my uncle and do both our landscaping.
Okay.
And every Sunday night, or every Sunday, we had dinner at my grandma's house, which was cool.
Yes.
And it was nice growing up.
And have you even, because some people I also ask on here about just their ancestry. Have you looked
I just know it's Calabria and Naples.
Okay. And that must have been like your great.
That was my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Who was born in Italy.
Okay.
All my grandparents were born in Italy.
Okay. And they settled in that area of New York.
Yeah, they did. I think first it was Harlem.
Okay.
And then they moved up into the country in the Bronx.
Yes. No, that's interesting. And there was that little Italy, the Arthur Avenue.
Arthur Avenue, yeah.
That was kind of a lot of Italians in that.
It still is.
Yes.
It still is. It's close to Fordham Road. Right off Fordham Road.
Yes. And
when we got to the teenage years in cars, we used to go down there. Yeah. Yeah, it was good growing up, It's I said, excuse me, a lot of my friends didn't go to college, but they're all successful.
Yes.
It goes to show you that really not everybody's suited for college.
Yes. I think more people are understanding that now, because I think through the 50s and 60s it was pushed up until the 80s and 90s and 2000s. But I think starting in the 2010s, just with college being so expensive nowadays, and it's not for everyone, and there's other opportunities.
And you can make good money.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to work, you can make good money.
Yes.
And my friends, all of them were very successful. Doing different things. I just happened to land in a library.
Yeah. Were your parents surprised about that you went into the library area?
No. I mean, they weren't surprised. I don't know. They thought I would go into law school.
Okay.
Because of my majors.
With political science.
Science and history.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they thought. Once I got hooked, I would start at that college library.
Yeah.
That was the beginning, And if you think about it, I worked in college, special, public, and school and public libraries. So.
And do you think even just, I know you've retired, but even just looking at libraries moving forward, they've continued to change, and especially since COVID, there's a lot more people with online, like reading books online, and not as many people coming.
My wife does that. She does a Kindle. She does. She does.
Yeah.
There's a lot more technology.
Yes.
And honestly, I don't think I could handle that.
Mm.
Like you guys can. Mm-hmm. That's my strength was being a people person. Mm-hmm. But in a good way, you guys rely on technology a lot more than I did. Mm-hmm. And libraries do, in general.
Yes.
And you offer a lot more. As far as I look and.
But you offered a lot.
I did, but it was more one-on-one. I can honestly, I was out of the building a lot. We had the superintendent at Oyster Ponds, a guy named Stu Racklin. Well, I became friendly with. I was allowed access to that building anytime. I wanted. And it was cool. I have. When I passed the schools, I would take the ferry out in Orient. I have fond memories of that school. Really fond memories. Teachers were terrific. Yes. And the kids are very lucky. Yes. The class size is so small. They get really a great education out there. And the kids are very lucky in Greenport. Yes. You don't find many 6, 12 buildings. Oh, this is a K-12 building.
This is a K-12.
Think about it. Not many of those left.
No, I think I had maybe just one other question.
Sure.
Just what are your hopes for the future of the North Fork and its community down the line? What would you hope to see?
Well, I don't know. I think less growth, continued preservation, continued open spaces, less development. Yes. Things like that. Yes.
Just to make sure.
I want it to remain beautiful.
Yes, because most of Long Island has been plowed over.
Yeah.
In some
and
ways.
Not the North Fork.
No, it's the last.
Yeah. That's what I'd like to see remain.
Yes. No, I think usually I think we covered everything. Was there any?
No, the programs I didn't mention because I forgot, but we did a lot more than I told you.
Yes.
The 4EC was invaluable.
We just touched the surface.
I gave you a tasting
yes.
of what I did, but we did a lot more. That enrichment was terrific. And that's why the parents loved the library. But, enrichment was really cool. I mean, and then we switched schools. So you wanted to have Oyster Ponds feel like a part. Yes. Right? So we did it there too. So I say, let's not forget David Burson. Okay. He was a big part of my program. He loved kids, loved the library, and donated his time and his boat, the Glory, to our programs. Yes. And whenever I asked, it was always yes. So he has to be mentioned, and he deserves a lot of credit. Yes. We continued to work with him today, so he deserves a lot of credit. He turned out to be a good friend. Yes. So no, but no, that was. I hope I did it. No, that was great. But that's all I got. No, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today and share your story and your career and all the really great programs and passion you have for the Floyd Memorial Library. I do. I really do. Thank you for having me. Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 201 with Joe Cortale. I want to thank you for listening to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, and we'll see you next time.